Hey friends, it's Jay from Jasmine's Astrology, and today's video is a little bit different than anything I've ever done on this channel before. I've got some guests joining me. Of course, I've had guests before, and we are doing a little bit of a forepast slash forecast. Also a thing I've done before, but I've never put the two together. So, joining me today, I have two of my absolute favorite fellow astrologers in the world. It is Jasmina and Diana, and you might recognize them already from this channel. They've been on previous episodes, videos, and you might recognize them because you follow them. If you're not following them, I highly recommend it. They both have such interesting and insightful and unique takes on the astrology. And every time I talk with them, I feel like I learn so much about astrology and so much about life. I mean, in this video, we kind of take a look at what's been happening in January and then look ahead to what we might expect for February. And we definitely talk about the astrology of it all, but so much of what we really dive into is like, what it means to be human and what it means to be living right now and how to navigate that and how to hold on to our compassion and hold on to our humanity. And it is such a deep, rich discussion. If I do say so myself, I felt so I felt so nourished by this conversation. I felt so lucky to have been part of it, and I hope that you will enjoy it as much as I enjoyed recording it. I'll stop waxing poetic about it now. Make sure you go and follow Jasmina and Diana. All of their important links are in the description for this video. If you have any questions, any comments, you need any clarifications on anything that we brought up, please let us know in the comments. I hope you'll enjoy it. All right. See you on the other side. Yeah, so let's start with January. I'm so curious to hear how this month has felt for both of you because for me, it has felt like an absolute soup. Like it just feels so watery and like every day kind of gives you a bit of a different bite. It's like a soup with a bunch of vegetables in it, and it's always like a different mix with every bite. And it's like this meandering energy. And some days the motivation is up, some days it's way down. There's been days where I've like cried on the couch all afternoon, and then days when I'm like, how did I get this much done? It's been all over the place. So I don't know, Diana, has it been like that for you, or are you feeling more solid, more tangible?
I would say middle of January was the soup for me.
Yeah.
Around, so my birthday was the full moon in Cancer, and I spent half the day in my office crying. So because there was on the full moon, Mars was directly opposite my sun. There was
Mhm.
just a lot going on, and then somewhere like around the time that the sun went into Aquarius, then I started feeling like a little bit of getting my vitality back. But largely, it's been very similar in that it's just been really emotional.
Yeah.
I it's I'm like so thankful for the friends that I have because I feel like without them, especially the support of, for me, it's been the feminine really, who's been sort of reaching out, making sure that like that I'm okay. I'm reaching out to my friends, making sure that they're okay because we're all going through it. And so, yeah, I would say for me, it's been very soupy, a lot of that, especially during the middle of the month.
Yeah. What about you, Jasmina?
Well, I have to agree with you. It was a mashup, a mix-up.
Mhm.
Ratatouille. Is that a French?
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Hmm.
But I personally felt more nervous than usual, if it's possible. Those people who know me, like, is it possible? But yeah. So I really felt that Mars put opposition starting the month with that, just feeling irritated, just picking fights for no reason. And then ending the month with this Uranus, I think this Uranus station really uh, affected my computer, my nerves. I was just so all over the place. But the new moon in Capricorn, I really was really inspiring, and I set some goals for myself. So that was like a couple of days of tangible something, really productive things happening. But I just feel that I was more nervous. For me, it was
Hmm.
on that side and just scattered all over the place, and I couldn't, focus. Like I couldn't focus. Like, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? Like really all over the place. So yeah, I agree. It was really hard.
Yeah, the scattered energy, that's such a good point, like, or such a good word for it. I feel like my schedule has not looked the same from day to day. I've done completely different things every day. I can't seem to get a handle on it. But it's actually, I mean, not that I wish this for either of you, but it's comforting to know that we're all in the same soup because I was like, maybe this is, maybe this is a Mars retrograde thing as a Scorpio rising person, like
Mm.
having that planet retrograde and then all of the activity in Pisces, trining that Mars. Like there's just so much water and just mutability and all over the placeness. And yeah.
Yeah, now that you mentioned I think that the nodal switch that happened on January 11th, I think we are actually really was hard. It hit hard to go with the flow. That's why we feel like this, because I really organizing and all these Virgo things that we want to control, they were just melting. Like you need to let go of that. Literally just. So I feel that that's also I felt the shift. And I know this, you're gonna have this strong Piscean energy for next couple of months as well. So guys, buy extra Kleenex and
And vitamin C. When the
Mm.
notes switched, I have Virgo in my fourth house. It literally felt like everyone in my family was sick. Like
Yeah,
my
I know so many people that have colds and that have had colds and have been sick. Yeah.
Yeah. And so a variety of whether common, just regular cough, cold, flu-like symptoms. I've been taking I have I have Saturn still transiting opposite my moon. And I've spent the last couple of weeks taking my grandmother and my mother to various doctor's appointments. And so it's like, oh my God. And it was good to know that it was coming, but
Yeah.
still, you don't expect it. Like, I was like, wow, like literally the notes had just switched and everyone in my family was sick. So, yeah, we got to
I
ride the waves.
totally. I'm so stunned still how much I felt that shift. I really, like you're saying, like we knew it was coming, but I didn't expect it to hit like that. I mean, I just because we've had Saturn in Pisces for 2 years now, I guess. So we've had previous transits with Venus also moving through there. But this was different. Like the North Node just turned everything up to 11. It just amplified the crap out of everything. I mean, and then the day, this past weekend as we're recording, when the moon was also there, I mean, forget it. That was just like, I lost a day to crying and then went to a movie because I was like, I need to escape into something, like,
You know, yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
it's been interesting. Yeah, I mean, on a global level, we had so many. Uh, like I think Uranus was really shocking us. Like first, as I mentioned, Mars put opposition, and Uranus at the end. I think the whole month um, was full of shocks and surprises, and it just made us even more lethargic because we felt helpless, and we have to kind of let go. So I think, um, yeah, and just finishing with those airplane crashes, it was just heartbreaking, and the fires in Los Angeles. It was a lot of disruptive energy, without going too political, but all around the world. So it's been really a blast to start the year off. Not an easy start, for sure.
No, it's been such a bizarre start to the year. Um, yeah, did you guys want to talk more? We were talking a little bit before we hit record about the Mars and Cancer stuff and just how it's felt like we are needing to be on the defense like constantly. And there's like this massive protective energy.
Yeah.
Mm.
I felt that in all like various conversations. I just kept noticing this theme coming up, talking to friends, and the conversations have been around, hey, I am dealing with this thing that is really scary, and I need help figuring out how to maneuver. And so that theme has been resonant in so many different ways, whether that's dealing with employers at work or dealing with the US government here in the US. or yeah, just like working through like all of the emotional baggage that comes with trying to like I've been really for me personally, it's been around like what am I motivated for?
Mm.
What am I really doing this for at this point? And then another theme that has come up is like how do we marshal our efforts now that everyone is concerned about our futures and tomorrow? So those are a couple of the themes that have been really palpable with Mars in retrograde, especially during its time in Cancer.
I'm hopeful when Mars goes direct that everything that happened during the retrograde will be kind of reset because from experiences past during those retrograde periods, usually the things that are initiated or they kind of don't go through as planned.
Mm.
So I'm kind of hopeful that many of these things that were now set in place during this retrograde, they won't be here long. Culmination will be, I think, on the last Mars Pluto opposition, end of April. That one is really thinker. So I think we are still in 2 months of, I think the February and March will be very similar to January, unfortunately.
Ew.
Uh, but it's going to be easy. Okay, March will be a little bit maybe easier because Mars is going direct, but it's still slow. It's not going to
Yeah.
speed up fast, and it's still in Cancer until he goes to Leo. It's still going to be right, and
Yeah.
lots of Piscean energy. So good news is Jupiter is going direct on the 4th, and Venus
Yeah.
is going into Aries to shook up a little bit some things because you
Yeah.
know. Anyway, so that's maybe a good. There's always something positive, I hope.
Well,
You
I
know,
think, go ahead, Diana.
oh, I was just gonna say, I wrote down this is like I don't remember the Mars in Gemini retrograde being this long, but I think it was because I complained about it.
Oh, it was.
That,
Oh,
but
it was long.
this is like 5 months of
Yeah.
what do I do?
Yeah.
Where do we go? So I'm
Yes.
like really looking forward to, I wrote down May 5th, because I think that's when Mars clears that the Leo degree
Yeah.
that went retrograde at. But yeah, I'd really like to be able to tell people with certainty that like, we're going to be able to feel like we can really spring into action again. But it literally looks like that springing into action isn't going to be for real until the summer.
I don't know if you allow me to mention this. You can cut it out later, but I feel that this Mars retrograde, we really felt like we can't perform, like the feeling of you cannot perform in bed as you would like to.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That's how I feel. This is like the
Well,
anyway.
can I ask like a more personal question about where is it in your chart?
For me, I actually have Mars in Leo. In whole sign, it's in 12, and in the quadrant is it's in 11. But it's with Saturn. I have that Mars Saturn conjunction. So,
Okay.
but I talking to people, just with in my
So not just
experience.
for you, you've
Yeah,
had
yeah,
like other
yeah,
people have mentioned this.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like the feeling that they're really like, you have this desire and you want, yeah, let's do it, and then you just can't. Like you feel so frustrated. I mean, I don't saying literally. I'm saying that's the feeling of general. You go into action, but
Well,
that's the sense of this Mars retro.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
if you're okay with it, I'd like to leave that in because I'm actually really curious, especially from, I mean, not just this placement, but from other Scorpio risings who have had all of the Pisces activity in the fifth house. Do you feel the same way? Because I don't, but I want to hear from other people too, just to get like
Yes.
a more sample size or bigger than a sample size. But that's so interesting. And it does make sense, like with Mars being retrograde. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just in general feeling
Hmm.
that you just whatever area of life you just feel very not competent, not you know
Hmm.
that's the feeling, and you
You
just
can't quite penetrate, is what
yes,
you're saying.
that's what I was aiming.
Yeah. I mean, that totally makes sense. Like the symbolism is all there. That's super interesting. No, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
So I have a couple of observations on Uranus because I've been so with Mars retrograde. It's for me the overall theme has been around what's our motivation?
Hmm.
How do we move? What moves us? Where's our mojo? Are we impotent right now?
That's
And then Uranus going direct in Taurus. To me, I was like, how does this connect back to um, the earlier, like the 2024 Venus, Jupiter conjunction in Uranus, and the whole idea of what Uranus has been doing in Taurus this entire time, which my understanding of what Uranus has been doing has really been trying to shake us out of our comfort zones.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, literally, Uranus went direct and it was just like boom, boom, shock, shock and awe, shock and awe. It was like I want to be loosed out of my comfort zone. I don't want to be like scared into whatever.
Into complete like destabilization. Yeah.
And that's what it feels like. It feels like being shocked into destabilization. And I was just like, how crazy is that when you think about it, when you think about Uranus in Taurus? And it's literally like that manifestation. I feel like this end of January felt like that. Very shocking, very like destabilizing.
yeah.
And God, I hope all of us are using Pisces season to figure out how to recalibrate our nervous systems and to rest and to try to adjust from all of the changes that have been taking place over the last several weeks.
Yeah, I don't know. How do we do that? Because I've also felt like with all this Pisces stuff that there's the soupy thing, but it's also been really foggy. Like
Yeah.
I feel like everything is very hazy, very unclear, and then and maybe that also is with the South Node in Virgo, right? Like the organization of things, the clarity of things is kind of out the window, like we had already said. And then there's these moments where I do get a bit of clarity. It's like, like the fog patch on the window, you rub some away, and I almost want to just blow the air back on it and cover it up because I don't actually want to see what's there. The fog was better, even though it's like so unclear. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel,
That's
I feel that we should really maybe in tune with the seasons.
mm,
And winter season is really to not to do much. And we
yeah,
just always want to push and do, you know, back in the day, people literally, didn't do much in winter.
yeah,
They were sleeping more because they didn't have electricity. They actually went to bed when the sun fell down. They were, waking up, and so they were sleeping more because it is time to rest. And
yeah.
when the spring comes, you need that energy because when the spring comes, you have to do so many things, um, so maybe we are just as humans today, we expect to be always on the go, always do things, but maybe we should just get in tune with the seasons. Maybe that's what Piscean energy is all about and telling us to be more in tune with nature, ourselves. Just, yes, it's normal to rest more during the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Period. That's it. We don't have to produce. But there's so many things. I mean, Neptune is at the last degree of Pisces, hanging in there. I know on my descendant for so long. So, so we do feel more of that. And then we feel, it's also bringing us the sense of being a victim of circumstances, which we are,
Mm.
unfortunately, there is a reason that we feel victims, but then, it's even more highlighted in us, like you're maybe even you're overwhelmed. Yeah. And I think that this will be also the feeling in the next couple of months. If we just, maybe we should just use this Piscean energy really to stop, smell the roses, listen to inner voice, spend more time with ourselves, just listening, just practicing how to listen to intuition, literally,
Mm.
one way or another, which is
Yeah.
hard, but I think we need to practice because we were for so long detached from it because society detached us from it that we need to go back to that. So maybe that's an invitation.
I think that's beautiful. I do, yeah. I mean, and especially I'm thinking about it too, just like along the nodal axis again, like with the South Node in Virgo, just really letting go of the perfectionism, the timelines even, the deadlines, like the nitty-gritty, the details, like just it's okay. Like it'll be okay. Let it go. Things will get done because they just still will get done. Like even if you take a nap, it's still gonna get done. Yeah.
That's it. Virgo, as a Virgo rising, I can tell that, if you don't rush to do it first, and somebody else will do it, and then, oh, look,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I'm smirking over here because I wrote down rest and let go, and I tell you, it's a Capricorn Sun and Virgo Moon. That is super difficult to do, all
Mhm.
things considered. And the other thing that has made this difficult has been Jupiter in Gemini, even retrograde. The information overload, the disinformation, and the misinformation has been so, I would say, for lack of a better word, obscene. And
Mm.
like, how are we supposed to rest if Jupiter is going to be doing the same? Is Jupiter going to be doing the same thing in Gemini while it's direct?
As I said, we are in this until June. So
Yes. At least we're hitting the final stretch, right? Like we're getting Jupiter stationing direct, moving forward. Maybe that's a little less disinformation at this point. Like maybe it's still the overwhelm of information, but at least it's like, oh, I can see like the clear path now. Like I can see that forward movement instead of sort of being in a holding pattern almost. Hopefully.
Hope so.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about February then, yeah? I mean, we're
good.
kind of already there. So, any other thoughts on Jupiter stationing?
You want to go ahead, Jasmina?
I just can't wait. And everybody says, "Oh, what has Jupiter, in Gemini? You have so many Gemini things. It must have been a blessing." Well, to be honest, I was more over the place. I was repeating my own advice. Two things, Jasmina. Two things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I should your advice too.
yeah. So it was in this particular situation. I love that it squared Saturn. I loved all those both squares. It just grounded me a little bit. So, um, but I'm looking forward to Jupiter in Cancer more, to be honest. So, anyway.
Same, same. We
I
saw
know.
I saw some documents. Some of my friends who work in government circulated a few things that have come out of the new administration, and I was literally screaming
Yeah,
propaganda.
I heard about the emails they all received. Yes.
It's no one. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. So I mean, the other thing that was interesting with tying Mars and Jupiter back together is just how angry I've also been about, sort of the lack of effort or any, right? I'm sorry, I'm jumping back to Mars, but it's thinking about with all of the disinformation that I'm seeing around, how it's frustrating that the people who are supposed to be in leadership, it feels like they're not doing anything, but they're under the same lack of mojo Mars energy that we are.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm also looking forward to Jupiter moving into Cancer and getting out of Gemini. The other funny anecdote I wanted to draw was before the transit started, I remember just studying and listening to other astrologers and thinking about what Jupiter's in my first house. And so I remember hearing the warning that like when Jupiter is in your first house, be careful because you could gain weight. Like, and literally one of the observations while Jupiter has been retrograde was, wow, Diana, your waistline has expanded significantly since this transit started. So I think that's hilarious because it literally I was prepared not to let it happen, but it still happened. So I again cannot wait for Jupiter to roll out of my first and go into my second
And
house.
into your second house.
There you
Hello.
go.
Exactly.
Then your waistline can grow because your pockets are growing and your wallet is getting thick.
Yes.
That from your lips to God's ears.
Well,
Seriously.
today we have we are filming this on February 3rd. So we have Mercury trine Jupiter today, which is a lovely.
Mhm.
And just February in general, where we talk about Mars. We don't like there's not a lot of aspects, major aspects going on in February. So guys, just a warning, it's not that bad. It's not as intensive, but the theme is still there. But Mars is going to do only two good things. So Mars is going to trine Saturn on the 9th, and it's going to trine Mercury on the 23rd. That's it. So I think although it's retrograde and it's going to trine just before he goes direct Mercury. So I think still it's going to be a little bit of lovely. I think the 23rd is going to be a bunch of news coming out that Mercury trine. Anyway, it's going to be interesting to see that on the end of the month. So it's not that bad. Mars, I think this month will kind of not do as many things as later in March and April.
So I wrote down when I was thinking about Pisces season, I wrote heavy minds and hearts having to let go,
Mm.
re-emphasizing the theme of like all of this water and all of the water in Pisces. And I was looking at that Mars trying to Saturn as some mature decision making around letting go.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. And then later on in the month, the moon, after the full moon in Leo at the end of the month, the last quarter moon is going to be in Scorpio.
Mm.
And so one of the things that I've learned about the last quarter moon is there's a lot of themes around letting go,
Yes.
Yeah.
closing karmic contracts. So the major theme I'm getting around this month is that we are going in and we are trying to figure out ways to let go of those dreams that are not materializing during Pisces season.
I really like that too, just with one of the sort of bigger signatures of the year, which is all of this activity between Pisces and Aries, the last sign of the zodiac, the first sign of the zodiac. I think there is this like massive unburdening that we're
Yeah.
moving through, like getting rid of baggage so that we can move into, Aries, spring, fresh, new beginning. Like there's definitely something there, but it's like it feels like a huge weight. It doesn't feel like this is not a, oh, I could throw that out. That's fine. This is like I have to take steps to throw this out. I have to
Mhm.
like move it to the couch and then move it to the table and then, move it closer to the garbage and then put it in. Like
I like
it's yeah, it's like it's so tied in emotionally. But maybe February is quieter to like help us take those steps. That would be
that.
cool.
I think end of the month. I think beginning of the month is more intellectual. Still, it's Aquarius
Sure.
season,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
still
yeah.
in our minds.
Yeah.
Then we have that full moon that's gonna be a shock. I think that's and then it's
Yeah,
gonna
that's a good
switch
point.
after that full moon. Like a full moon is gonna be like the peak. Like it's the hardest couple of days in the month, from the
Yeah.
10th to the 13th. Let's say those 3 4 days. It's gonna be really hard because it's fixed energy. It's a square. It's Uranus is involved. You don't know what's gonna happen. And then after that, I think we're just going to be so overwhelmed with everything that we're just going to cry. That's the whole like a releasing energy of this. So we have this hopeful energy in the
Yeah.
beginning, then we have like this, oh no, it's not like I wanted to kind of shocker, and then just I can't do it anymore. I'm just going to cry and let it go. So I feel that's going to be
Yeah.
like that. So expectations, we shouldn't have any expectations. I would say just you know rest, dance, sing, listen to the music, listen to the movies. It's like Oscar
Yeah.
season, whatever. Although nothing is fun anymore. Grammys are not fun anymore. Nothing is fun anymore. So I don't want to go there. But you try to find something that you really, um,
That you can get lost in that feels
yes,
also inspiring though. Like
good.
that has been such a big thing
Yes.
for me. Like it's not like I don't listen to music, but there's been something about this like Pisces activity where I'm like, I need my headphones on, I need the volume up, and I need to just like sink into this. And that's how I've been getting through work too. I'll be like, okay, get 30 minutes done and then you can listen to another song.
It's really good. I've been doing the same thing with music. I was for a while. I was wondering, am I into the Venus, Saturn, Pisces themes? And then I realized that I've been listening to a lot of music with themes around longing,
Mm,
desire.
mm, mhm.
Um, and so I was like, I'm gonna just keep going with it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep going with it. Same thing. I've been putting my headphones on when the kids are screaming because the Jupiter and Gemini. That's another reason why I'm ready for Jupiter and Gemini to be over. Okay,
Hmm.
joke. A trine from what is it? The my Mars detriment in my fifth house to Jupiter in the first has been just my kids nonstop
Mm,
bickering.
Oh,
yeah.
So but so I'll shut them. I just shut out. I think
Yes.
that's the theme of shutting out the rest of the world, going in, listening to music, floating, dreaming while trying not to dream too big because I don't want to be too disappointed with
yeah.
for whatever doesn't happen. So I definitely think that's a good move to continue.
Do you have
Hmm.
your Venus in Pisces natally?
My Venus is in Aquarius.
Ah.
Yeah, but my midheaven is in Pisces, ruled by
Oh,
a Scorpio Jupiter. So the what was that?
I like that.
Oh, you
Yeah,
like it?
yeah, kind of. It's out
Well,
there. It's kind
I,
of out there. So, you know,
that's a sixth house Scorpio Jupiter, by the way. So you may not feel the same way.
but it's
I say that.
still there.
Yeah.
Still Jupiter in Scorpio. I love
So so it has been the music has been very grounding. The daydreaming. I've been encouraging friends to just like talk. Oh my God, just holding space to talk to friends who get it is also I don't know,
Yes.
it's been really helpful to have a compassionate ear to
I was just thinking,
listening.
yeah, that's why I asked you about your Venus because I'm thinking maybe this Piscean energy is also inviting us to do our Venus more. Because Venus is where we find pleasure. And maybe we just need to lean into our natal Venuses more to find that little pleasure in life to kind of, because we all Saturn, forget it, like crystal tell. We are all Saturn, we are all, Mars, we always do it. But maybe we should just lean into Venus in these times more. Like I have been for sure. I have Venus in Cancer. I have been watching cooking shows and stuff, and I love it. So just
Well, I think you nailed it because all I can think about lately is traveling and I'm Venus Sag. It's all I want to do.
and Diana actually reminded me because she said, "Oh, I'm encouraging friends, friends. I'm gonna talk to friends." I said, yeah, Venus in Aquarius. That's what I asking you.
Yeah, and for me, it's been like digging into astrology. Like, I think that's so
Mm.
like raising that. I was like, I've been doing a lot more astrology with friends lately. So
Wow.
maybe that's how it's been like, how my Venus has been handling all of
I
the
was baking last week after a month, so there you go.
yeah.
Calms
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
down, and I find pleasure in baking and watching
You
culinary shows.
I wanted to like go back to what you were saying about Venus because I think this is a good pivot back to what Venus is doing in Aries
Yeah.
by transit. I didn't watch the Grammys either, but I thought it was interesting. Or I don't know if you watched it. I'm sorry.
No, 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 no. I just watched the news after and all this.
Mm.
So I just caught like the highlights
Yeah,
on social media, and I was like, oh, how interesting that the theme of independent, bold women was sort of emphasized in what I was seeing. Beyonce winning the Grammy Award for Best Country Album. There was another relatively new female rapper named Doechii who
I
won
saw that.
Rap
Yeah,
Album. And then the other thing I saw was Lady Gaga, who has Sun and Venus in Aries,
Yeah.
who has always been consistent about her outspokenness for the LGBTQ plus and queer community, and how she was outspoken last night at the Grammys about how it's important that we remember our friends and have compassion for them. And I was like, this is such a good example of how the feminine is leading the charge, so to speak, or speaking up when when it feels like no one else really is doing that right now. Like Venus is through Venus attracting what she wants is doing some of the work that she's expecting Mars to do, maybe when Mars that but Venus expects Mars to do when Mars comes out of retrograde. Sorry, I'm trying not to genderize
Yep. But
planet.
they're gonna be direct only for a week together, and then she goes retrograde. So they don't have a lot of time together in a good place, sort of. So,
Right, right. So it's going to be difficult trying to align our, what we desire with how we go after it is
Mm.
again,
but she goes on in Aries on the 4th, right? So tomorrow. But they're gonna
Yeah.
have a neutral reception because Venus in Cancer is exalted, right? Or she's not.
no, no.
Or
Venus
she's not.
in
Uh,
Aries.
sorry,
Sorry.
no, 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 no. I mean, Cancer. No, forget it. I thought Venus in Cancer was exalted. No, she's
Gotcha. Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
But still, it's a good placement. So it's kind of
I mean,
he being in his side and him being in her kind of side, which is comfortable at least. So
well, at least if nothing else, they are still making an aspect to one another. Like they'll be squaring. So like, they see each other. I'd rather take an aspect over no sight at all between the two of them, right?
Right, right.
And Diana, I don't know if this is what you were going for, but there was something in what you were saying about like Venus and Aries, um, like kind of going into Mars's sign and like doing the work for it,
yeah,
basically.
That's
Like,
what it feels
okay,
like.
I'll clean up this mess. I'll do this work. Like, it's not getting done, so let me do it.
well, I
Yeah,
love that.
that's what it feels like. And then Venus is going to do this work up to about the 10th degree, I believe, of
Yeah.
Aries before Venus stops and then goes backwards, carries back into Pisces.
Hmm.
What and internalizes whatever Venus has gone out and sought out and spoken up about, pioneered, previewed, sneak peek of an adventure that Venus wants to go on. It's so interesting. And it's Venus out there leading the charge before any of the other planets
I
Hmm.
like
in
that.
Aries. So it's almost like, to me, it's like our desire, like we're getting the preview of what our heart's desire is. And then we have to go back and internalize it with everything else that we're internalizing with the Mars retrograde and then the Mercury retrograde that's coming up in March.
Yeah, maybe realizing that we need to let go of some things to make space for the things that we desire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice. Yeah. I I love a Venus retrograde. I'll take a Venus retrograde over a Mars retrograde any day. So I'm happy to have the torch passed. I'm good with it. I find Venus retrogrades to be such a time of like I've discovered many things about myself
Mhm.
personally during Venus retrogrades. And I would have thought that that would be more Mars retrograde, again, Scorpio rising, but I don't know, every Venus retrograde seems to hit for me in that way. I don't know if you guys have the same experience, but
I didn't actually research, but she's ruling my second house of money. So when she goes retrogrades, I'm not actually very excited.
fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I haven't studied the retrogrades yet. And I'm actually a Venus retrograde child. So
Mm.
I'm wondering, like, I probably do all of I was thinking about, well, what happens during the retrograde? There's a lot more introspection. So I don't know for myself whether I'm more introspective about the things that I desire than anyone else, but that's super interesting observation. And I actually, for the retrogrades that I've been aware of as an astrologer, the Venus ones have been good. Like I was thinking about Venus's retrograde in Leo last year,
Mm.
and that was a wonderful time for me. Like I went back to that was the first time I visited Haiti, which is where my
Oh,
family's
wow.
from, for
Yeah.
the first time. And it was like I was going back because it was a retrograde in my third house, and I felt like
Yeah.
I was going
Oh, that's nice.
to visit like a community that was part of my heritage,
Mhm.
and it was just it was beautiful. So at least with respect to that retrograde, I would say I definitely I definitely prefer that retrograde to either of the Mars ones that I've
Yeah.
been working with.
Yeah. Yeah. They've been really nice for me. Obviously mileage will vary for people with retrogrades, but yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I,
is there anything else? I was thinking about, is there anything else dynamic about the Venus retrograde that we want to mention? Because Venus is in her detriment,
Mhm.
in its detriment, excuse me. So is Venus going to be able to do being supported by Mars and Cancer is not very helpful. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over
yeah,
the course of
March. That's March topic for me. I didn't really look into it very much.
yeah,
It's more of a March topic, but it will be very interesting to see. I think we're gonna have a lot of, when Venus goes retrograde, I feel that a lot of things come to surface, especially regarding partnerships, relationships, like even in public view, in public's, realm, when we see uh, just they come, like we know what, like there's like always some kind of hidden behind the scenes story that comes up during Venus retrograde. So and with her being in Aries, it can be about uh, leaders or people who lead or
Mhm.
women in leadership. There's like there can be some stuff that I'm kind of on a global scale that I'm looking forward. Maybe we'll see some women come to power.
for sure.
That'd be cool.
For sure. Definitely.
Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, we're not at the retrograde territory yet, but we are in the shadow and we have been for a couple days now, I guess, as we record this. And
Yep.
there's like Venus is interacting with so many different planets before the retrograde, during the retrograde, and then afterwards. And I feel like that's not always the case. Like sometimes with retrogrades, we get like that one big repeating signature. Like with the Mars retrograde, it's Mars opposite Pluto that is really dominating that conversation. But with Venus, like it's hitting Saturn, Mars, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, North Node, like it's hitting so many different planets that I feel like it's having kind of a global impact, like on the chart, on the life in general. I feel like it's big.
Uh, yeah, the only actually big aspect that she does in February before she goes retrograde is she's going to sextile Pluto on the 7th, this
Hmm.
Friday. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think that's going to be beautiful because she's going to get some power. We'll
Yeah.
see. I think maybe around the 7th, we might see some situations of women in power or something coming up. I don't know, hopefully good.
The seventh is also when we have that Neptune conjunct the node, which I'm
Yes,
curious about, but
yes. But I'm thinking, we talk about politics, but the female president of Mexico,
mhm.
she has been in the news today. I didn't have to catch up a lot of stories, but something along those lines. Maybe I don't know. I have to look at her chart.
Yeah. I know
She's
I've
a
never looked
Cancer.
at it. Oh,
I saw,
okay.
I saw one of my friends was posting. She's a Cancer with Virgo rising, um, and I don't know where the moon is, but she's like a strong Cancerian, so fighting for her country. We'll see how.
The feminine voice is definitely getting it's louder. It's much louder. It's what I'm when I'm thinking of who is speaking up, who is saying no to the bullshit that's going on, who is marshaling, who is encouraging people to take care of themselves, who is encouraging people to get in community while we're in Aquarius season. It's been largely feminine voices I've seen from my experience.
And I'm glad you touched on that, like who's not putting up with the bullshit. I feel like this, pre-retrograde shadow, it's like start paying attention to that and start figuring out how you're also going to do that. Because then during the retrograde, that's when we're really going to get into it, I think. So we're starting to pick up on whatever those little bits and pieces of the story are going to be now.
I'm just gonna put this out there. I don't know who's gonna be offended or not, but we were just showing to our 4-year-old how to play chess. I was thinking, look who can do all the moves on the chessboard. It's the king. What does the king do? Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. The
And
king, the king sits there and it needs all the protection,
from
but it
the
does fuck all.
queen. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it out there. And you guys can,
Yeah.
that's what I feel, this Venus in Aries and all this what we're talking about. This is that's what came to me yeah, look at that. That's exactly.
And that's like so along the lines of what I think Diana was saying of like Venus going into Aries and being like, I guess I'll do all this work then. Like, let me take care of
Clean
it.
up, let's go clean up the mess.
Yeah,
Nobody else is doing it.
exactly.
Yes,
It's
but
yeah, it's giving
Yeah.
Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, Venus,
Mm,
Venus
totally.
is yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess like it's not always easy to have the planet in detriment. Like we have to figure out different ways of doing things or like, going against the grain. We have to sort of be countercultural in a way or like, yeah, it's not easy. There's effort that is required, but probably for a good reason.
we can do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to be I'm like an activist on this. I'm using astrology, but
That's okay.
but
Yeah.
it's not aligning. Like I'm just saying, it's aligning with the what's happening from astrological
Yeah.
point of view. There's so many things that you can
You
see.
know,
I,
I
Yeah.
think like Jasmina, what you were just saying, the chess thing, who that would bother maybe. But actually I think with Venus and Aries, we have to get used to pissing some people off. I just think that we do.
good.
And it
And
just has to be done.
I agree.
Mm.
I also wrote down for the full moon in Aries, full moon in Leo, that
Yes.
that full moon is opposite Mercury in Aquarius. So
Hmm.
I wrote down how much is the king in opposition to the will of the people,
Yeah. Yeah.
and how much are we going to see of that during that lunation?
Uh,
Yeah. And that's just like, that's also, I feel like doing something. I know Mars isn't there right now, but I feel like it's it's doing something. It's stirring up that Mars Pluto opposition as well in some way. Like it's connected somehow.
Saturn is it's ruling the sun, not the moon, but the sun. And Mars is going to trine, Saturn is going to trine Mars for that formation.
Mm,
So there is still Mars there coming through the sun point of view, not from the moon point of view.
Mm.
And the moon is ruled by that sun anyway. So if you go with a tree, you'll come back, right? So anyway,
yes.
there is a connection. I mean, Saturn is ruling kind of both, and Saturn is making a nice trine to Mars for that formation. So that could be
Yeah.
positive, let's say.
I hope so. I've been seeing also, going back to the Aquarius theme, that the people, the collective, the revolutionary spirit. There have been protests in other countries that we're not seeing. I haven't been seeing a ton of in our news, but I think that that is very resonant with what's going on right now.
I have to mention, if you Google Serbia,
Mhm.
so there's students, thousands and thousands of students have peaceful protests against authoritarian government because all the Balkans, because I'm from Croatia, I know they we all are still stuck in Second World War and history fights from whatever. There are like thousands of them protesting, singing against all this what is happening in their country, and it's such a Pluto and Aquarius powerful story. Actually, I'm gonna post it on Instagram stories so you guys can see. It's really I just go I have goosebumps.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So there's like that probably so many other stories that nobody wants to show that because right in Germany they're protesting in Germany. There's a lot of things happening. So
Yes, yes. So the people, the idea around like I just wonder how much of that is going to carry into, because we go from like a lot of conversation around what to do with what's going on in the world right now this month, and we're taking that, we're going to have that for the next several, 2 more weeks before the sun moves into Pisces and then spotlights all of the Pisces themes that have been going on and that are happening. And so I'm wondering, just what are we going to do with all of the conversations? Are
Mm,
we taking those, we're going from air back to water. So are we taking those conversations? Are we taking that revolutionary spirit and internalizing it?
hmm.
We're going into their homes and organizing quietly.
Mm.
That could be another way to look at it.
I just hope I wish we would all go all on the streets. I don't know. I would be part of it. I don't know. I just feel like I never been so rebellious like this last few months. I feel like I just want to go out there. I don't know. I'm
It's
not
a
really like that.
it's a great time to be rebellious, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like if not now, when? Like, right? Um, that's I love that train of thought, Diana, that has the wheels spinning for me. And I just the first thing that I thought was with Mercury moving into Pisces, like protest songs or like poetry, some sort of art form that is being used as a form of protest or something like that. But yeah.
That is really beautiful. I think I wrote what happens when air, because when I know this is a little, I know Mercury isn't, I don't think Mercury's in its shadow yet, but uh,
No.
when Mercury does eventually move into Pisces, it's going to be in mutual reception with Jupiter, right? Because they're going to be in each
Yeah.
other's signs again.
Yeah.
It's so instead of being in Sagittarius, the last time we were talking about Mercury being
Yeah.
in Sagittarius, now Mercury's going to be again next month, a little further along in Pisces. But I wrote down love letters when
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
when
That's
the
beautiful.
alchemy of air and water,
Yeah.
the
Mm.
poetry, the
Yeah.
love letters,
Yes. Yes.
um,
Yes.
that's beautiful,
Yes.
and I
Yeah.
hope it
Oh, I
manifests.
love that. Some beautiful love songs. Yeah.
So Mercury goes to he starts his shed on the first, the same day Venus goes retrograde. Mercury starts.
The
Oh,
first of March. Yeah.
Yes, it's gonna
Yeah.
be a blast. Also, another start of the month. But going to the new moon, just want to. I
Yeah.
think you didn't mention the new moon. I just want to just mention it for briefly. It's interesting. It's going to square Jupiter. So again, it's going to be a lot of although the Jupiter is going to be direct, but still Jupiter in Gemini. All this nebulousness. I think the news are going to be nebulous. I think I wouldn't trust anything you like anything. I don't know. I would anyway. It's just gonna be crazy.
When is that new moon?
27th of February. So a lot of confusion, these a lot of Piscean energy, and then with just putting our imaginations wild. So imagine Jupiter uh, is a storyteller in Gemini, like a big story is the fishing, I caught the biggest fish. So it's gonna be a lot of, and then it's gonna be so not real that I can't even know. So everything we hear about end of the month, I don't think anything of that is real. So just make a note, you know. But interesting thing is that for that new moon, all the planets are direct. It's the
Oh,
little
wow.
period of time that so this is like the first lunations in months and months that we have all the planets direct.
I
So
didn't
that's
realize they're
very
all
interesting.
correct. Okay.
And that's like just the this like temporary moment. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So I would work on the dream or personal dreams and visions, but don't get into hype of what's happening on the outside
Right.
world. Just ignore it and just focus on yourself and your vision and dreams because it's going to be good, like to set intentions. Just focus on yourself.
I like
Please
that.
disregard any other. That would be my advice. I don't know. I just feel that it's going to be,
Wow. That's just so interesting. Just yeah. Oh, wow. I'm so glad you brought that up.
yeah. I
That's
would just,
I'm like stuck on that. That's so cool.
yeah. Even the asteroids, because I work with the four major asteroids, the
Okay.
Ceres, Juno, Pallas, and Vesta. They're also direct.
Wow.
All four of them. So weird. I was like, what? I was
Okay,
looking at that,
that feels really big. Yeah.
right? Even
Yeah.
Chiron is everything.
You know, it was another cool thing. So on the new moon, I also had some thoughts around having to trust, making sure that we're really tapping into what it means to trust our intuition
Absolutely.
Hmm.
because of the potential with that square for even more disinformation or misinformation. And another astrologer, I believe it was Eliza Kelly, had mentioned that the theme of the new moon in Pisces is going to be at 9 degrees of
Yes.
Pisces. And there was an interesting pattern that she had observed related to the last several new moons have been at 9 degrees of Pisces, which I thought was also interesting. I don't know.
Or at like the last
Sorry,
several
9
new
degrees.
moons of just like the signs. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Been at 9 degrees, which
Yeah.
I thought was fascinating.
Yeah,
Have you?
but yeah, we also have full moons around the same degree, around what was that? 24th, 23rd. So it is a pattern. They always go like that until they change. They slowly change, and then that's how they go.
It
It's the whole
I think we've had like more than usual though at that
really
9 degree. Yeah. Because I know that they do
interesting.
stay around kind of the same
Mm-hmm.
spot, but I feel like it has been a while now. Because every time I'm like writing a forecast, I'm
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, 9 degrees again. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Hmm.
It's something to pay attention to. I
Yeah.
keep reading the
Mhm.
connection to nine and the year, completions being associated with the number nine.
Yeah.
So it's just something to just pay attention to. I saw that. I think I saw that on Threads. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating because
Yeah.
I noticed the same. I've been there's a lot of new moons around 9 degrees recently, so like right around that degree. So who knows?
So it just
It certainly seems to echo the theme around letting go and a lot of
Right.
right,
significant endings
Yeah.
this year.
right, yeah. The year 2025 is nine number, right? Numerologically, it's also
Hmm.
kind of.
Hmm.
And then I was talking to this a soldier from Hong Kong about the year of the snake, and he was saying that the snake energy is also shading skin. It's about transformation, and
Totally.
I thought like, oh my God, the nodes, the Chinese, everything is so aligned. Like
Everything
everything
is
is,
repeating the same story around letting
yeah,
go.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
amazing.
But I mean, even if we think about the fact that like we've just had Pluto change signs, we're gonna have Neptune change
Oh yeah,
signs, Uranus change signs. I mean, like it's just all
Saturn,
happening. Saturn, like
Jupiter.
everything is shifting. And it does feel like, in a way, a very transitionary type of year. But I think we'll look back and be like, oh, that's when a lot of things started.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Like I don't think we can understand 2025 yet until like 2030 or something.
Yeah.
But
I'm thinking maybe all this BS that we're listening that is happening in the world, maybe it needs to be said for the new world, the new changes to come. I just feel like maybe, maybe we look this as a good thing that it happened because it's long and it's hard because we are going through
of
this. It's hard.
course. And it's
But
real and it's like
it's real, right?
people are suffering and like it's not, yeah.
It's not funny, right? But then retrospectively, oh, this was done. That's why. You know how usually something big needs to happen before the changes come. So
Yeah. Like so often it's unfortunate, but we have to hit that rock bottom
yeah.
before we finally realize like, oh, right, we have to change. Yeah. Yeah.
Mars in my second house has certainly felt like rock bottom.
Oh.
It's not fun, I know.
Every time to time, I have to crack a joke. I'm telling you, I'm crying so much. I was like, I have to laugh. Like, what
I
are we
haven't I have
doing?
not cried this much in so long. So long. And it's like it's fine. Like it's good. It's a good cleanse. I think Diana, actually one time you said you'd been crying so much in it, but it felt like it was almost like a spa for your body and for your face. Like it was so cleansing. And like I've been thinking about that every time I cry.
It's very cathartic. I think
Yeah.
that I really feel like we all need to have like some good ass cries. Like we need to release and this is what these personal planet retrogrades are asking us to do.
Yeah.
Like let go of what we have been holding on to. It's time to move. It's time to change directions. It's time to shift. It's time to do something different. But how we're human. We don't like Uranus being directed toward it. It's too much. Like it's so much change.
Yeah.
So I really feel like when trying to prepare for this, I was just like everything's echoing this theme. Like, come
Absolutely.
on, humans, time to
Yeah.
change. Time to do
Yeah.
something different. Time to stop relying on, the people who don't have your best interests at heart to look out for you. Time to look after each other. Time to have compassion. Time to be really human when the world is evolving into, the AI kingdom.
Mm.
Everything
Mm.
I read on Threads lately has all read Like it's all it's just like don't we can't lose our humanity. So let's all have a good cry.
Mm,
Let's all be compassionate. Let's all work with each other.
Yeah, but we really need to.
I love
Uh,
that.
I think about it a lot, that how humans lost their connection between each other, and all this competition between people, between countries, between religions, between races, between genders, between everything is so everything is so, and we are all, instead of just holding hands, embracing each other, all the differences. That's the beauty of it all. Can't you guys see? That's the beauty of it, that we are so different. And then, but anyway, I just feel that I'm gonna cry. I have,
I know I'm on the verge too,
I
just with what you're both
have,
saying. And but
yeah,
now like, okay, so all of this activity between Pisces and Aries, you're talking about competition, challenge, all that heat. It's like there is some of that is like this lesson of like, okay, we have to have that individuality. We need that spiciness, we need that heat, and we need that like boldness, but like how do we also integrate that with being human and being compassionate and like
yes,
remembering that there's a whole world out there and like we are a part of it too. And so maybe that's like that back and forth between Aries, Pisces journey that we're going to be on.
yes, to have both. That's the
Hmm.
thing. We are made of both. We're not
Hmm.
one or the other.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So embracing everything, because we forgot totally to take care of our soul, our our
That's
spirit.
going to make me cry. It's so
But we
true.
did as
Yeah.
humans. Even our bodies are, I can't even say how we forgot, but we are kind of working on bodies, let's say. Okay. But our souls and spirits are dead for so long.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take
Did you did you guys see those um cafes, I think in Netherlands and somewhere, when they have these no internet, no electronics. So people just go there and they just read books, play cards, talk.
What? Reading books.
No, but you should see it. That in some churches they do it somewhere. In some, there's like a lot of things in Europe now. People are young, of course, young people. I didn't see anybody. Anyway, they're just gathering, and I'm watching it. It's so beautiful. Like you are not allowed to bring laptop, cell phone, anything. And I think we need more of those places. I think that needs to be contagious and spread around the world.
Mm.
So every local little town, village has that place where people have, because we're still going to have AI and technology. We're not going to,
Yeah.
it is what it is, but
It
we
is
need
what it is.
this.
Yeah.
This will be part of us
Mm.
both, right? So we need to find those. I hope they spread around the world fast. I don't know, maybe I should open something here. I just want to
Yeah,
do
well, this
something.
feels part of like the cleanse of the letting go, the technology side of it, like trying to
Yes,
let go of some of that. Yeah.
because you can listen to your, as I said, intuition with
Mm.
all these things happening
Mhm.
around you, right? So getting, our spirits and souls back and understanding that. Anyway, enough preaching. Just enough. Yes.
beautiful,
What
Jasmina.
what were you gonna say before, Diana?
I think I was gonna say something around it was something else, but when as Jasmina was talking, I was going back to Uranus and how we've been shaken up out of our stability. Like we're I remember having a conversation with my best friend a few years ago. This was before I even started studying astrology. I was like, I feel like we're moving into a time where we're just going to be doing things like taking walks outside again, where we're not going to have our devices in our faces all the time, where people are just going to be looking for a simpler life. People are not going to want to do the daily grind that's being forced on them now by larger powers. Like that we are really being the idea behind Uranus and Taurus has been like, let's get us out of our comfort zones. Let's do something different. Let's find our resourcefulness in different ways.
Mm.
And so that's sort of where my mind has been percolating um,
Mm.
at the moment. How are we with Uranus wrapping up in Taurus? I think next year. How are we?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
get a little dip of Gemini, but yeah.
and then we go back
Yeah.
through the Taurus. But how are we gonna how are we finding that comfort, that pleasure, that simpleness of Taurus in all of this too. Like going back to being human. Think about Venus and how she, like, Venus is behind this. Like going back to our pleasure, going back to our humanity, going into compassion. It, and so, and Venus, Uranus is in Venus's sign. So I'm like, at the end of the day, this is all about. This feels like a lot of this is about Venus
Totally.
figuring out what it is we really desire
Yeah.
and how to make that happen in the larger scheme of things. So
I just know I don't want to live in Black Mirror.
In Black Mirror, yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
live like I don't
Yeah.
want to live a world. That's my conclusion for this whole
yes,
thing.
so all these people who are, part of the whole Black Mirror, part of the story is, are can we all just honor our emotional bodies
Mm.
so that we don't become Black Mirror episodes, like
Yeah.
living versions of that.
Or Severance. Jay's expert. I'm watching everything.
Oh,
I'm
good.
listening and everything. It was just anyway, it's a blast.
I heard
Oh,
that
thank
show was
you.
amazing, and I like eventually will catch up so I could watch your
I
YouTube.
listen while I cook, while I clean. I always a Gemini craziness. I always have something in my ear, so I always,
To the show, to my show?
yes.
Oh, thank you. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. It's funny how you dissect everything. It's nice to see other people, how they see the show.
And you're watching the show though as
Of
well.
course,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
the whole
Okay. Yeah,
point.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's why I listen.
It's it's such a fascinating show in terms of, yeah, like humanity, like what we're talking about right now, humanity and identity and what makes a human human. It's such a fascinating conversation. Yeah.
I was just also thinking how everything backfired to humanity, to humanity. We invented machines to have a simpler life,
Mm,
to work
mm,
less, and
mm.
we never worked more. Isn't
Yeah.
that, the people were, they worked in the fields manually, and then let's have a tractor, and then to work less, and then we just work more. We never, humans never worked more than like
Speaking of working more, have you heard about all the return to work mandates that are happening?
yeah, for you guys in US, yes, I heard.
Yeah, like
Like for people that have been working at home and
people who've been
doing
working,
completely fine.
for people who've been
Yeah,
working at home
federal,
completely
federal,
fine. Both
oh,
private and government sector employers have issued mandates requiring people to come back into their offices when people have since COVID readjusted their lifestyles so that they could be more at home. And what have we since found out? That we could actually do our jobs. Most of us can do our many of us, not most of us, but many of us can do our jobs from home without having to
yes.
be in the office 5 days a week.
You don't have
But
to
they're trying to
commute.
get people to do the opposite. And it's just like, why?
It's not gonna work.
So you could pay your commercial rent.
Exactly. Yeah.
I always said make those buildings sustainable living flats.
That's
That's
what
it.
everyone is saying. Make it, if there's a high housing shortage, we can turn commercial buildings
There's so many things you
into
can.
affordable housing.
It's
And that,
almost too easy,
Right.
right? Like
Oh,
the answer is right there. No, but yeah, exactly. Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, to be frank, the neighborhood I used to work in, I mean, during the daytime now, it looks like ghost town. So there are a lot
Mm,
of businesses. There are a
yeah.
lot of businesses who depended on that, that midday, the corporate bodies, the corporate
Right.
employees to come and buy lunch and do. So the vistas of the cities have changed a lot. I get that, but to me, that's just another example of the point that we've been trying to make here, which is this a human move?
Right.
Why? What's the real reason behind this? Also, let's just be transparent about why you want everyone to come back into the office.
Hmm.
It's so that anyway, that I will start taking us, my Venus and Mercury will start taking us into conspiracy land. So I'm not even gonna go there because I
but
love
let's
this energy all the time. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just like, I'm so happy that I'm so grateful that I don't have to tell someone, no, I'm not doing this
Yeah.
yeah.
because it's hard.
Yeah.
most people, these are their livelihoods, but yet you're being tasked with the idea of how do I, you know, I could go on. It's
Yeah.
just,
Well, maybe one day we should. Maybe one day we should go into conspiracy theory land.
Yes, for
That could be a
fun.
whole thing.
Well, but
I would
overall,
be there.
yeah, to conclude, we need to rise up.
Hmm.
And it's going to be emotionally hard. I think every change is emotionally hard. That therefore, but we need to just push through it. There's no other way.
And hold each other's hands.
Absolutely. You're not alone.
Just reach out, because one of the things I'm concerned about with Aquarius is, we can go into our, if we're not in community, we can go into hermit mode and isolate. And then in Pisces, we can also isolate.
Hmm.
And so one of the things that I'm hoping that we remember to do is if just check on each other.
Yeah.
So people are really going through it.
Astrology can really help. There are many beautiful practices that can help people to navigate through this change one way or another. So, guys, reach out and ask for help. It's not a shame. You have
Mm-mm.
to. That's another thing that we need to get rid of. Uh, Guilt, shame, uh, so on, so on. Many things that were put on us um, for no apparent good reason.
Mm-mm. And actually, when you reach out to somebody for help, the person that gets to do the helping, it's usually pretty nice for them. Like
So
they usually feel pretty good about being able to be like, oh, yeah, no, I could do that. So it's kind of a win-win.
You
we
already
all go ahead.
watch out for fake spiritual gurus.
Oh yes, that's true.
I think you already said that before. The spirituality wellness pipeline, right? Because people, Pisces, mental health, wellness, health, wellness, Pisces, Virgo. So that's the other thing, is just helping make sure people have the right resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially South Node Virgo, a bit of a drain on our critical thinking. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
There are always going to be opportunists, right?
yeah.
Like these LA's fires. There were some people putting fire so they can rob rich people extra. Did you hear about those? I was shocked. Anyway, so they were like there were fires, but then they extras they found so they could rob quickly those.
Oh, yeah, I think I did hear that people, a lot of, some of the fires were intentionally set
Yes,
in certain neighborhoods.
extra on top of everything. Just
Yeah.
so there's always going to be opportunists, even with this
Imagine,
spirituality. There's always going to be. So we have to be always aware that. But I hope that people will know the difference. And
I mean, trust your gut. Yeah,
I'm gonna say,
yeah.
so we have
Just
to.
check in. Check in. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Check in with the gut. Like, yeah.
as someone who has experienced Pisces through progression,
Mm.
it's easier said
Oh,
than done.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yeah.
Easier said than done. I will, when I write about my Pisces new moon experience, I am glad I came out of it relatively unscathed, because
Hmm.
you certainly go there in terms of how lost we can get if we don't stay grounded in some way.
okay. I'm in my Aquarius progressed moon now. Don't scare me.
I enjoy this time. Enjoy it. I enjoy it, Jasmina. Get all of
Okay.
that social butter, because when I told you, I
Okay.
will, my vitality tanked
Oh no.
3 months into, like almost to the, like almost several, like a few months before my progress moved into Pisces. So enjoy
Hmm.
it.
Ooh,
You too. You're gonna want to take. I mean, I'm assuming it's. I've heard from others they've had a similar experience with Pisces. So that resting that you talked about at the beginning.
it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be interesting. Uranus is gonna be on my natal moon, squaring my progressed moon. I think next year. Okay,
Well,
I'll think about it.
I think we all have to get good at taking naps because I
Yes,
think there's still going to be things that we have to get done and that we have to, you already said, Jasmina, push through, but I think we need naps. I think
yes.
naps, meditation, maybe yoga, these are all good, like quick restorative
That's
practices.
what I started doing actually. Yoga, restorative yoga, just
Mm.
restorative. And my husband goes, "What did you do?" I said, "You know what I did? I I was breathing and I was
Yes.
stretching, and that's all I needed to do. I don't need to do anything else. Neptune is opposing my ascendant. Leave me alone. I'm
Yeah.
starting yoga.
You want to talk about what it is to be
Yeah.
human?
Oh,
Breathing.
breathing. Oh yeah,
Let's breathe.
which is hard.
Yeah, big time. Did we all just take a big deep breath?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember to take. That's what actually helps me to slow down from talking so fast.
Yeah. Hmm.
Take some deep breaths.
Hashtag Gemini.
For real. For real. I think mutable period actually, right? So
Yeah. Yes. Okay, take deep breaths, everybody. We got this.
naps and deep breaths.
Naps and deep breaths. Okay, that's our like February advice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still winter. It's the middle of the
Yeah.
winter. There's
Yeah.
nothing to do. I mean, for the northern hemisphere, if anybody from Australia listens, anyway, you guys
But,
pretend.
the astrology extends over there, so the themes are still
Yeah,
there. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm kidding. Yeah,
All
so
right. Well, any other final thoughts? I feel like we've been doing final thoughts for a bit, but
no.
yeah. Well, this has been so lovely. What a great conversation. I would love for you to share where everybody can find both of you. So, Jasmina, where can people find you and what do you have going on?
So it's just been a Brazilic astrology. YouTube and Instagram are my main two platforms. I have my website if you want to book a reading or anything else, if you want to reach out. I have something planning coming soon. I don't want to jinx it, but something
Okay.
that will come up. And if you want, you can subscribe to my newsletter with monthly forecasts and some other bits and pieces when I have more time. And that's it. And always have interesting guests. I'm gonna have medical. I'm gonna have a doctor who is practicing now medical astrology from that. So I'm gonna have that conversation. This
Cool.
excited why she dismisses the not everything, but most of the her practice from real life, as she says, and so it's gonna be interesting topic as well.
Whoa.
Tune in. Yeah, it's my
Yeah, that's really cool.
yeah.
Um, Amazing. And I'm very excited for whatever it is that you're gonna reveal soon. That's exciting.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Thank
What
you.
about you, Diana?
So I can be reached at my website at dianavanessa.com. On my website, you can subscribe to my weekly newsletter. I also offer readings. I've been just hosting sessions of my 101 Alchemizing with Astrology workshop. So the next workshop is coming up on Sunday, February the 23rd. And I'm just going to be doing those monthly for the time being. And last but not least, most of my content lives on my website, currently lives on Threads. I'm not sure for how much longer. So that's where folks can find me, and then YouTube. So
Yes.
I'm
Your
working
fairly
on
new YouTube channel. It's so exciting.
I'm working on that too. So
Amazing.
what we got percolating.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for
This
the
was great.
space. Thank you for
Yes,
the
of
chat.
course. Can't wait to do this again.
Likewise.
All
I'll
right.
hope.
Thank you again to Jasmina and Diana for joining me for that conversation. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I'll be back soon with other astrology insights and more cosmic chit chat. But until then, I'll catch you on the cosmos.